How would you feel if your mother got you a Christmas gift that you specifically stated you had no interest in? We've got a story on that in just a bit, but first, my stepdad demanded to use my phone for a week. When I was a teenager, my brother had gotten an iPhone 4 from my bio dad. It was still pretty new at the time. When my brother left home, he got himself a new phone and gave me the iPhone 4. But you see, my stepdad has his policy that none of us kids could have anything nicer than him. He had to have a nicer bed, nicer food, and a nicer phone. So one day, my stepdad broke his phone and ordered himself a new one, but the new one would take a week to get there. He needed something in the meantime, so he went to the store, got a burner phone, took my phone, wiped it, and made me use the burner phone for that week. When I got it back, this was before iCloud was as good as it is now, all my app data, photos, and contacts were gone. And when I had the audacity to complain to him about it, he called me entitled, and it wasn't his problem. Whatever was on my phone was not as important as him having a better phone than me for a single week. So I get the parent angle of saying, I paid for it, I can do what I want with it, but this is just kind of a cheap move on dad's part. Why would you do that? I think Pops needs to grow up just a little bit. Excellent ad 1132 responded, someday when he isn't around and his phone is just sitting there, accidentally factory reset it. Also, hi, I'm Brendan, and if you guys enjoy these Entitled Parents videos, it would be so cool and awesome if you left a like or commented down below if you're listening to our podcast. That being said, our next story is, parents surprised you need to actually, parent your kids. I was at the self-checkout at my local department store where a woman called an employee over to her and heard the woman say this, "Could you call my daughter to come meet me?" Surprisingly, the employee said yes and went to the customer service desk. A few seconds later, the employee returns to the woman and asks if her daughter is a minor. The woman says yes, she is. I was walking out and so did not hear what the employee said, but I heard this loud and clear. "Oh, you mean I have to go and find her myself?" No words. I just think some people need to take a masterclass before they have children, that's all. Recipe Sad 9736 responded, "This reminds me of the time I couldn't find my daughter while shopping at my local co-op. I was walking back and forth looking very concerned. Employee says, 'Can I help you find something?' And I reply, 'I've lost my daughter.' The employee says, 'OMG, would you like me to help you?' Me, 'Oh, she'll be okay. She can't leave without me because I'm driving and she's 45. Our next story is how to reduce your child's screen time according to my mom. My mom is prone to violent bursts of anger if things don't go the way she wanted, but this was something insane. My brother was binge watching some series on the TV. She asked him something and he wasn't paying attention, so he didn't respond to her question. She suddenly became unhinged and took a knife from the kitchen and came charging in. She started hitting the TV screen with her fist and cutting and scratching on the screen with the knife. Once he was done, she pointed the knife at my brother and threatened to repeat this on his back if he touches the TV again. This is the aftermath. And we've got a link to the picture here. I'm not going to click on it, but to our listeners that want to check it out, feel free to. Yeah, sounds like mom's a little unhinged though. Our next story is, entitled parents tried to destroy my dream because of their own grudges. I don't know if this fits here, but it fits the theme. I was watching the legendary Yugos owner and realized my dad and stepmom are stuck up their own butt. Context: I grew up in a house with a twin, an older sister, and a younger brother. Growing up, I was the odd one out, being the second twin and often ignored by my family. I've had my fair share of trauma, including years of verbal and physical abuse from my twin and dad, which left me with anxiety, depression, and self-esteem issues. And recently I tried to unalive myself from the built-up trauma, but that's not important. Let me get into the story. In May of 2024, I was in my senior year of high school and part of JROTC, Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps. I joined because I wanted to prepare myself to join the military, especially the Marines. I'd been working with the Marine recruiters, talking about MOS and other things. I was 18 at the time and wanted my parents to be informed about the path I was choosing. The recruiters also wanted them to be involved, so I told my dad via text. Now, here's the thing. My dad's ex-Army and my stepmom was ex-Navy. For some reason, they both despised the Marines. When I told my dad about my interest, he completely flipped out. They both barged into my room, yelling and cursing, demanding I hand over the phone because I'd been talking to the Marines. I was terrified of their yelling, barking, and insults, so I complied. They reviewed my phone, which was owned by my biological mom, and without asking either of us, factory reset it. But it didn't stop there. My dad then called my JROTC instructors, demanding they never let me talk to the Marines again, and even contacted the recruiters to try and sabotage my future. He told them to lie, saying I had autism or asthma to get me disqualified. Thankfully, the recruiters didn't listen. The next day, my dad and stepmom made up lies about my girlfriend at the time, trying to force me to break up with her. They confiscated all my electronics, my gaming computer, laptop, and even my school Chromebook. The worst part? The day after, they contacted my instructors again, demanding the Marines couldn't talk to me or come near me. But one of the instructors, realizing I was 18, pulled me aside and said my parents had no legal grounds to stop me. That was when I knew I had to stand my ground. The stress of being grounded, isolated, and verbally abused by them made my life unbearable for 2 weeks. I had mental breakdowns, panic attacks, and couldn't focus in class. They wanted me to give up on the Marines and join the Army or Navy, but I knew I couldn't back down. So I made the decision to leave. One day, I stole my phone back while my mom was picking up my little brother. I took what I needed and left. My dad, of course, freaked out even more. He texted me demanding I come back home so we could talk about why my decision was foolish, but I ignored him and kept moving forward. It wasn't easy living far away from my school, 90 minutes away, and dealing with my dad's constant calls and texts, but I stuck with my decision. I eventually graduated, went to recruit training, and eventually got medically discharged. Even though things didn't go as planned, I still feel proud of myself for standing up to them and making my own decisions. I know it was stupid to join the Marines with trauma and being scared of yelling, but I thought it would help. So let me just say that being raised in an environment like that, with parents like that, it is so heartbreaking just to hear how much OP has struggled here. And the one comment that they made about, I felt like unaliving myself, but that's not important. No, let me stop you right there. It is important. And, you've got people that are willing to help you, but you got to speak up. And you're doing the right thing. You're doing the best you can. Pulling for you. Bacon, Eggs, and Cheese responded, Jesus, are your parents mega controlling? I wouldn't be surprised if they got mad if you took a step there instead of here or something. Imagine being so miserable you need to meddle in your child's future and love life. Our next story is, my mom has been refusing to take me to the doctor. So it's been really cold in my state lately, like freezing, and my mom still makes me go outside and run for exercise, even when it's way too cold for that. Well, surprise, surprise, I ended up getting sick, and now, instead of taking me to the doctor, she's just ignoring it and acting like it's not a big deal. I'm tired, coughing, and just overall feeling awful, but she won't listen. She says things like, the nearest urgent care is in insert city here. Like, that's at least $100 in gas. Like she hadn't gone to that city a few days prior to have dinner with my dad. Or she'll say, it's not that serious. I'm not paying hundreds of dollars just for a little cold. Like I haven't been vomiting every now and then since I got sick. Or the most annoying one is when she says, you're just doing this to skip volleyball practice. Like, why would I want to feel like this? Sure, practice is a bit draining, but I'd rather be a bit tired and sore than be as sick as I am now. It feels like she never wants to take care of me. She never takes me anywhere anymore unless she's getting paid by me or it's specifically for her. I don't know if I'm being spoiled or not. That's what she calls me when I tell her I don't like something that she did. It feels like she never apologizes, even when she's done something blatantly wrong. She only apologizes around family when it makes her look good. I'm tired of all the yelling whenever I try to ask her about going. I don't know what to do right now. I'm just ready to pass out, honestly. Well, OP, if you're a minor, I'm assuming that you are, it's kind of your mom's job to take care of you when you're not feeling well. That's what you sign up for when you decide to be a parent. So I think that mom needs a stern talking to here, but you've done nothing wrong whatsoever, OP. Where were the adults, appropriate name here, replied, where's dad in all this? Can he take you? Mom is toxic and using the standard guilt and manipulation tactics toxic people use. That's the blaming and telling you you're spoiled. She's blame shifting to make you feel guilty. Arya often replied, he's been busy with work. When I asked, he said he wouldn't have time to since he has to go prep stuff for an event and he's gonna be there most of the day. He's a chef. I thought it was fair. Since he does food for events like multiple times a week, and the events were already planned weeks before, he's gonna be really busy. Our next story is, update to post I made about my ex, 25-year-old male, parents controlling his life. So, my now ex blocked me and said the relationship was bad for him. This degradation of our relationship took place over the month of December at the direction of his parents. We were supposed to have our 1-year anniversary January 1st. Some context: my ex had been diagnosed in childhood with Tourette's and OCD. In October, he was additionally diagnosed with ADHD, which altogether makes up something called the Tourette's clinical triad. What most people don't know, including myself until I researched it, is that the tics associated with Tourette's are only the tip of an iceberg of many different comorbidities. ADHD is the most commonly co-occurring condition, as well as ASD and learning disorders. In addition to the above, I strongly suspect my ex is autistic and vulnerable to being heavily manipulated and swayed. I'm autistic, and it was immediately obvious to me. It was suggested to him by several clinicians to pursue testing for it as well. I think this is how his family was able to do this, and how he, completely despite all the evidence to the contrary, would eventually turn on me after enough time with his parents. The entire year of 2024, I spent attempting to help free my partner from what he divulged to me were a domineering, overbearing, incestuous mother. More about her behavior at this post, and an emotionally hostile and abusive alcoholic father, who he was afraid of his entire life. When he told me he was living with a gun under his bed and had this plan of ending it, I leapt into action to get him out of there. He then told his family that I pushed him to do it, but he told me that he was constantly ready to flee from there. My ex has now completely turned on me. When he was having suicidal ideation again recently, I honored his request to not go to the hospital, as that's what his parents had made him do in the past. Instead, I researched and found him a program that took his insurance, wouldn't interfere with his job, and that he could do from the comfort of home. I felt so happy he could get the support he needs without disruption to his life. He ultimately told me the program was helping. However, he went to his parents and presented it to them as, "She has me in so many appointments, I don't have time for anything else." This was the beginning of the end. He then started telling his parents everything I say to him in confidence. If I told him they were abusive, he would go to them and say, "She says you're abusive." If I reminded him that when he lived there before, he became suicidal to the point of sleeping with a gun under his bed, and that I was terrified he would feel that again, he would go and tell them, "She says I'm going to unalive myself and move back in." He admitted that when his parents would tear me down, he would just join them and say all this stuff. Eventually, he started acting increasingly more hostile toward me. I had a spare set of keys to his apartment that I've never used once. He asked for them back because he said his parents told him to. He would snap at me not to touch him, when before he had always asked me for physical touch because as an undiagnosed autistic dude, he experienced massive touch starvation from being socially isolated. He told me that physical touch was more healing to him than any therapy. This was the one that really got me. He told me that, "After a year together, I don't even know who you are." A line from his parents. This guy's worked alongside me for over a year, watched my best friend get married, met my grandparents, met my best guy friend, met my friend who's also my roommate and lived here at the house with us for 2 weeks, and been over countless times. He knows my whole life story, all my likes and dislikes and tastes and traumas and triumphs. I was very vulnerable with him. I've held him in my arms as he was falling apart so many times. I fiercely advocated for him with his mental health. He thanked me so many times for sticking with him through all of this. He definitely knows me. He went to the same family he just told me over the last year insidiously stripped him of his self-identity and caused a lot of harm, and pointed the finger at me. This all happened very quickly. I had to quit my job because he worked right next to me. I got very sick in December from the shock of everything. I wasn't able to eat or sleep and started to lose weight and look really unwell. He told me absolutely insane things like, "My parents said you're just using me for college money." I was on a medical hiatus from school our entire relationship. I've always paid for school using grants and loans, and the thought that my boyfriend should pay for my college never even occurred to me. It wasn't a thought I've ever had in my head. Hearing him say that was the first time that idea had come across my horizon, from the imagination of these absolute lunatics. His mom in particular was driving a lot of this. Keeping in mind what I wrote above about him mentioning she was incestuous, her motivations were pretty transparent. From the very beginning of the relationship, she seemed to seethe with resentment of any time we were spending together. We would routinely take time apart, a week at a time, as I relish my alone time to read and do hobbies and reconnect with my own life. Then, when we'd get together for the first time that week, she'd call and see if he wanted to come over for dinner, and he'd tell her he's with me. She'd say, "You spend all your time with her. Boyfriend gave me a ride to work a mile up the street on his day off." She'd extrapolate. "What, do you do everything for her?" She'd complain about how she doesn't ever go over there anymore because he's spending all his time with the neighbor girl. I have no idea what this means. Maybe like a girl next door? When he was moving out, she texted him and asked if he even loved her anymore. I have a post in my profile where I detail her other behaviors. His personality changed so much, quite literally overnight, after he first initiated contact with his family and they went to work on him. To make this short, he's now blocked me and said, "This relationship's not good for me." I was willing to move heaven and earth for him, but this is where it stands. Well, mom's clearly the problem here. She's a home wrecker, she's a gaslighter, and it just seems like for whatever reason, she's jealous that her son is spending time with another female. And autism or not, if the son is just going to breach your trust of confidence, like with conversations that you have and just, tell his mommy about everything, you probably don't need to be involved with him anyway. So that sucks that happened to you, but you can do better. So just take some time to heal and find yourself a better person. Lily Lightning responded, "You can't fix what clearly wants to stay broken. Get into therapy so you can unpack this relationship and learn from it. He and his family have red flags planted on every hill I can think of. Glad you're out of it." Our next story is, "My mom yelled at me because I was talking to my uncle. So today I had orientation at my new job, and me and my mom were going through my paperwork, and she wanted me to set up the pay active, so that way she has access to my money right away. Yes, I know this is wrong, but it's not the focal point of this post. I then call my uncle to talk to him about this, and while I was talking to him, which I originally called him to ask him how he was doing after his surgery that he had, and I mentioned for maybe 2 minutes that my mom wasn't working and that she was supposed to get a shift tonight, and right after I said that, she tried barging in my room to start an argument with me. She told me to stop talking crap about her to my uncle when all I did was told him that she didn't end up getting her shift tonight for work, and she now is on the phone with my other uncle talking crap about me, saying how I'm ungrateful and horrible things. She expects to draw money out of my paycheck to help her, and I cannot handle this anymore from her. I plan to move out in the next 6 months or whenever the soonest my income verification is good enough to get approved for my own place. I honestly don't see that I did anything wrong, but she's treating me like I did the worst possible thing to her." No, P, you didn't do anything wrong, and this Reddit page is called Entitled Parents for a reason. You posted this in the right place. HotKnee95 responded, "Yeesh, I saw someone try to open a new account somewhere and she doesn't know about it and go paperless, and that's absolutely a great idea. Obviously, don't give her any access to your paycheck if at all possible. If she keeps pushing you about it, then what I would do, at least my employer works this way, is go into my online payment elections and split up which accounts my paycheck goes to. Some goes into savings, some for spending, some for bills, etc. If that's possible to do with your employer, then give her access to a very small percentage of it maybe, just to buy time and push her off until you're able to move out in 6 months. After moving, I would close the account she has access to and delete it from payment elections. I'm not at all sure how well this would work for you or if it's at all possible for you, but I wish you the best and hope she doesn't do anything drastic before you gain full autonomy for yourself." Our next story is, "Involvement in details moving. Me, 28-year-old female, and my boyfriend, 28-year-old male, have been on the journey of trying an information diet with his parents. They tend to be very detailed focused, and anytime a decision needs to be made, they want to be involved, and you almost have to present your plan to them for approval or for them to poke holes in. We're coming up on a very stressful move across the country, and decided it would be best for us to mainly keep details to ourselves. Well, we're a few days out and decided to give his parents a call to catch up. Don't know why we're optimistic about that, because they tend to have a checklist of our lives of things they need to ask about. Anyways, they dive straight into questions about the details of how we're getting there. Are they helping us move? They've been inserted themselves with every other move, and we've already told them we want to do this on our own. Where we're stopping because it's X many hours away, etc. We respond with, "We have it handled," to more minute details such as a U-Haul and a car and whatnot, and they just flip their lid and immediately come for us. When we didn't divulge details, here were quotes. "This is just bizarre. No one in our family or anyone we've ever known has done anything like this. You guys are being so weird. This is such bizarre behavior. What do your parents know about the move, OP? Well, you might have been raised that way, but we thought we raised you right, BF. You've said trust me to us 20 times on this phone call, but you haven't given us anything to trust. We knew someone whose kid died on the road and they didn't find out for 3 days. You want that to be us? I would just hate for someone to show up on your doorstep in the next couple of days. We must not have raised you right because this is not right. Wow, our relationship is just really not what I thought it was. We're not trying to make you feel guilty, but just wow, you're really not the son we thought we raised, etc. I couldn't hold my tongue with the way they were speaking to my boyfriend. I was cordial and said basically that we were not intending to be hurtful and that we didn't want them to be upset, but that they weren't listening to their son. We want to make life decisions for us without people poking holes in it, and that it did feel like they were guilting us. They immediately pushed us off the phone. This had added even more stress to the already stressful move. I feel so crappy, and the worst part is that my boyfriend just said it would have been better to let them talk. That's how he's dealt with it growing up, and it's just pure emotional abuse and manipulation, and my heart hurts for him. How does this get better? Anyone with a similar situation out there? So while I don't have a similar situation to relate to, you guys are 28. It's time for your parents to cut the umbilical cord and stop helicoptering like this. So get away, get some space, and establish your new identity, with your significant other. That's what I would say. Jump Glittering 8120 responded, reassure them that you have everything in hand, and if you need their help with something specific, you'll ask for it. You and your boyfriend did nothing wrong. I just think his parents didn't like not being informed of their son's every move so they can interfere, as they've become accustomed to. Our next story is, please don't gaslight me over a coffee. I don't know if this counts as entitled, but I didn't know where else to put it. I asked my mom if we could go grab food as I was craving a sandwich. She said we could, and we could even grab coffee from the new place that opened in town. I was having a good day, and I was talking to a friend, but then my mom wanted to ruin that. I was telling her some funny things, and was just flat out ignoring me. So I stopped talking. We got our coffee, and I was happy, because, it's coffee. Mom, on the other hand, she started to complain that the iced coffee she ordered had too much ice. I asked calmly, hey, can you not complain about a coffee, please? It's something small. This happens a lot, by the way. She'll get upset about small things, coffee, food, clothes, even talks crap about people we see in public because of how they look. I've tried to talk to her about this and tell her she shouldn't insult people or make fun of them, or complain about simple things like an iced coffee having too much ice. After I asked her to just not do that this time, she started screaming. I just kept repeating my point, that she doesn't need to complain about something as small as coffee. She told me to leave her alone and then proceeded to continue complaining. I said I've asked her to please stop, that I don't want to hear about it and to please stop. She didn't like that. She started putting her anger into how she was driving, and it was low-key scaring me. I told her that she was putting her anger into her driving, and she asked, "Do you want to get out?" It was raining and on the other side of town from home. I was tired of keeping quiet and told her that's one of the most toxic things to say to your child. She told me to leave her alone again and again proceeded to complain about the coffee. I was starting to get frustrated because of how many times I asked her to not, so I asked again. She told me I was yelling at her. Only one yelling was her, and I know that she needs to complain about things to get it out. I understand that, I really do. I complain about things sometimes too, but getting ticked off over an iced coffee having too much ice? Please. I kept my voice quiet as I was during the entire time, and she said, "Oh, I'm just bad at everything." Something close to that, I don't remember word for word. I went off, not yelling or throwing out cuss words or anything, but just telling her how I felt that what she's saying isn't okay. Telling her that she's trying to gaslight me and make me feel bad for asking her to not complain about something simple like coffee. She said that I was actually the one gaslighting her to make her feel bad about complaining. I said no, that I was just asking her to not complain about coffee, that a request like that shouldn't be hard to follow. I told her she was acting 5 because she was trying to give me the silent treatment after my request, even though she goes back talking shortly after. I told her she's acting like a Karen and getting mad over something so small. I know those weren't the nicest things to say, but I didn't know how else to tell her she's being toxic and it's affecting me. I even told her flat out that she's being toxic, that she's manipulating me and gaslighting me and I don't want it. She believes she's doing nothing wrong, that I'm the one being rude, but I'm just trying to make her see that she's not being nice and it's affecting me. At the end, she brought me not doing things into the conversation and I said this isn't about what I do or not do. She said that exactly, it's not about me and I need to mind my business. I'm so tired of this. I'm 18 and for the moment going through a lot right now with mental issues from past abuse on top of dysphoria, so doing things is hard for me. She's 50 and has been working in therapy with the same therapist for 13 years. I'm 18. Yes, I'm legally an adult, but I'm still a kid. She's 50 and she acts like a child. It feels like I'm the adult in this and it's exhausting. It's making all my issues worse. I can't get better with my therapy if she's adding on to the issues. My advice is to just not even engage, don't talk to her. It sounds like you're kind of inadvertently poking the bear by continuing to say things that are going to keep her triggered. And in effect, you're kind of like a miniature version of your mother, and I mean that as respectfully as possible. So just don't talk to her, let her say her piece, and if she keeps on talking, create your distance. You don't have to go out for iced coffee with her. McDuchess responded, "One of the worst ways to get a narcissist to stop doing anything is to insist that they stop. They're basically bratty toddlers. Tell them no, and they'll insist on doing the thing even more. So tell her once that her complaining is stressful to you. Then do your best to ignore her. She thrives on attention, and being ignored is the worst thing you can do." In her eyes, it denies her the supply she so desperately wants. Do you have some sort of earphones or in-ear pods of some sort? Make sure that you have them with you when you go places with her and can't physically escape. Just put them in as soon as she starts her antics. It'll shut her out without you wasting emotional and intellectual energy trying to get her to stop. Our next story is, "Mother bought me a present for Christmas I've explicitly stated I have no interest in, and I feel terrible. I'm 29. My mother got me a pair of Birkenstock sandals for the summer for Christmas, and I absolutely hate them and have told her this before. I sound so ungrateful and hate my attitude, but it's also what I know this represents. She keeps going on about these shoes, and every time before she gave them to me, I said I have no interest in them, which is the truth. I have sandals already, which do me fine. I did not need new shoes. She has her own, and I feel she's trying to inflict this on me. Every Sunday, when I'd see her in the summer on a day off, she'd comment on what I was wearing. 'Why aren't you wearing sandals? At least you're wearing sandals today.' I'm already dreading the summer now because I know this will be the existence of every Sunday. 'Good, you're wearing your Birkenstocks. They're great shoes, aren't they?' And I have no choice but to go along with it, or I'm the worst person in the world. I've stated on so many occasions I do not like the brand. I don't find the shoes comfortable. I'm also trying to improve my spending and saving habits. I refuse to buy things I do not need a duplicate of, cut down on what I don't need, quality over quantity. That's another reason I can't stand having the new shoes. I know I didn't pay for them, but I do not need them. My current ones work perfectly, even at around 6 years old. I wore them all summer long and loved them. I went to Rome in August, doing around 30 to 40k steps a day, and they were ideal. She does it constantly with 2 pairs of shoes she's already bought me. Whenever I wear them, she comments or asks, 'You're lucky to have those shoes. Are they very comfy, those shoes?' Every single time. Look, they're only shoes. It's absolutely harmless, but it's still very strange that she has to do it every time. I think my issue lies more with what I know this represents rather than the shoes. I remember looking at them when I got them in the box. There is a separate toe split as well, which I detest. I feel so ungrateful because her intentions were good and she spent a lot of money too. What do you think? Why is she trying to push this onto me when I've said I'm not interested?" Well, simply put, I just wouldn't wear them. You kind of have to pick your poison, it sounds like. She's either going to complain about what you're wearing, or you're going to wear shoes that you don't find comfortable just to appease her. And I don't really know a happy medium here other than to just not interact with your mother face to face over the summer. Doesn't sound like that's an option, so I would just say don't wear them. Be like, I told you I don't want them, and so I'm not wearing them. Coffeebug Travels responded, "Don't wear them. If she asks, just say, 'They're uncomfortable and I don't like them. I already told you that.' And don't say anything further. If she tries to badger you, just say, 'I already answered that.' Then Gray Rock." With that being said, that's all the time we have for today, guys. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like and comment down below. And if you want to check out any of our other videos, click the video on the right. With that being said, I'll see you all next time.